There are so many reasons why I love the 2025 Aston Martin Vanquish. First of all, it's an Aston Martin. For some reason, Aston Martin just doesn't have the capability of designing a bad-looking car. I mean, this just looks absolutely stunning, classic two-door coupe proportions, and we do have a V12, still a brand new V12. And there's more good news that brings it back to a more traditional style of a GT coupe. So we're going to have a look at this from a front, side, and rear, and also, of course, the interior. But before we do that, let's have a look at what this is all about from this article from Car and Driver, link down below in the description. So, Aston Martin Vanquish returns as the brand's GT King. The Vanquish nameplate returns as the de facto replacement for the DBS, which was cancelled in 2023. It will be the top model in the GT lineup, pricier and more powerful than the DB12 and the Vantage, of course. US deliveries are set to begin just before the end of the year, and pricing starts at $429,000 starting price. Not bad at all. The Vanquish is notable for what it doesn't have: hybrid assistance, all-wheel drive, a dual-clutch gearbox, rear axle steering, even electrically driven turbocharger. Is powered by a freshly designed V12 engine. So all of these things that I just mentioned here in the article are things that we see specifically in a $400,000 plus car. Usually they are equipped with these type of things. But the thing about this, though, is that I feel like us as Aston Martin here, they know that some people, there is a market for some people who miss that old, more analog vibe of specifically a big GT car like this, and that is why I love this car so much. So head of product and marketing said it's an engine for today, but it's also one we can further evolve, which is fantastic news. That means that we're probably going to have a V12 from Aston Martin for a very long time moving forward, since they wouldn't put all this effort and money investment into making a new V12 if it's not going to be around for a long time. So it's a 5.2 liter, 824 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque. These numbers today as well, I mean, 824 horsepower, it's a lot of power, but for a $400,000 plus car, it doesn't necessarily feel that crazy by today's standards. And that is another reason why I think this is such a cool car, because they bring it back a little bit, and they focus on some classic features and aspects of driving, and I love that. So the top speed is given at 214 miles per hour, which is a new high watermark for the brand, and the 0 to 60 time is about 3.2 seconds. Not the quickest out there, I don't care. While 100 miles per hour happens in 6.2 seconds. So you have a rear-mounted ZF 8-speed torque converter transaxle in this car, not a dual-clutch automatic. You also have a choice of stainless steel or titanium exhaust. The titanium saves 23 pounds, which sounds pretty substantial to me. You have 21-inch wheels. You can see the wheels here. We don't, thankfully, have a staggered setup, so we don't have 22s in the rear and 21s in the front, or 21s in the rear and 20s in the front. We have 21s all around, and you can see that, at least in my opinion, it just looks so much better. And Aston Martin are the masters of plantedness of a car and also the stance of a car. They know what they're doing. They know that they need to have 21s all around and not the staggered setup. So compared to the DBS, the wheelbase is 3.1 inches longer, with the extra length coming from between the A-pillar and the front axle. So we have the A-pillar sitting a little further back, creating a very long, beautiful hood here. And if I haven't mentioned reasons why I love this car enough yet, we also need to talk about the interior, because this is even though it's a huge two-door coupe, it's strictly a two-seater. And here is what Aston Martin says about this interior. If you want to completely detox from the digital, you have the capability to drive the car as a physical object, which is really important. Thank you, Aston Martin, for making that statement. So physical controls are in place for all the driver-focused items: drive modes, engine start-stop, the electric stability program, and the active exhaust. There are also roller switches for some climate functions. Perfect. That's all I ask for. For now, the Vanquish is available only as a coupe, but we do know that they do Volante versions of pretty much maybe not every coupe, but a lot of coupes. So this will probably come in a convertible later on. US deliveries are set to begin by the end of the year. So with that said, Let's jump in here. Let's talk about this absolutely stunning design. There are just one little detail that I kind of maybe want to tweak a little bit, and that has to do with the front end design. So looking at this car here, and I have to say that the press photos were not the best press photos I've ever seen, because it's not really a clear front view of the car in the press photos, which is unfortunate. So we have this view right here, and you can see the line flow here in this design, just how beautiful this is. Classic GT proportions. These are the type of cars that I personally like to sketch. If I'm sketching a car, I want to have more classic proportions like we have in this Aston Martin right here. We also have a new graphic here on the side. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. But the thing that looks a little strange to me, specifically from a side view, is the grill. It's a little bigger than before. You can see just how far down it reaches down here. And we also have the typical Aston Martin shape up top here, which I love. I love this line right here, going from the hood into and curves down into this area right here. Just a beautiful flow of the lines in the hood. And these top mounted heat extractors up top just look stunning as well. How they carved that out from the hood of the car. Classic again, headlight design sitting inside of the fender just like I want to see. And we have a small little air intake right here at the bottom of the corner as well. But this is a very typical classic Aston Martin grille. It's huge now, in my opinion, maybe a little too big. Maybe I wanted to cut it out right here and have this lower piece be body color or something like that. And also have it be convex instead of concave like we have it right now. You can see that right here in the side view. This is what I'm talking about. This looks like it looks like one of these weird sharks. I do think that's what I'm thinking of. If not, I'm gonna pop up a picture of the animal that I'm thinking of when I see this front end. I feel like something is missing right here. And I don't want to have this point being the furthest in the front end. It needs to have something to balance that out down here at the bottom, and I'm not entirely sure what that would be. And then I want to have the grill sit a little further out like this. Now it looks a little strange, just that little tiny area. That is the only sort of issue I have with this design. But looking at the proportions here, just how stunning this is. We have the long hood here, and we also have the, I think, a couple of inches back for the A-pillar. And just look how thin the A-pillar is. Super thin A-pillar. It has to have some very interesting material to it, because this needs to, I mean, the roof needs to hold up if you flip this car, so it needs to be super strong. But if it's this thin, I'm not sure how they managed to figure that out. We have blacked out side mirrors here. I do like this graphic that we have here. Very dynamic looking graphic, almost starting to look, this car now, Aston Martin in general, with the new Vanquish as well, is starting to look almost a little Italian to me, and that is not a bad thing at all. Then we have this line right here continuing into the side, and we kind of don't have a connection to it here. It's at the top of the diffuser in the back. We have the black piece down here at the bottom, carving out some of this volume in the lower section, and a beautifully sculpted muscle over the rear axle that then continues and just shoots straight forward into this very long unbroken line into the front end, looking beautiful. I also like the bronze wheels here, and as I said, thankfully they didn't go with the staggered setup. We have 21-inch wheels all around, and have a look at this ducktail here. The rear end is just something else on this. This is probably going to be part of the design language from Aston Martin moving forward. This reminds me a lot of the Valor, the special edition Aston Martin that they built in a few examples, which I've made a video on as well, and just how much I love the rear end design of that. And it's cool to see that we now have a similar rear end. I think the Valor still looks better than this, but this is not bad at all. Thankfully we do have the roofline going here, and since we have such a classic proportions, we need to have a send-off in the rear, and we have that clearly visible right there. Now looking at the rear view here. So this is completely new. I haven't seen anything like this from Aston Martin before. I do like pretty much everything that goes on here. Even this little black island that we have in the center portion here with the Aston Martin letters right here in the middle, and a nice sculpted surface right here as well. It goes in outwards a little bit and straight up. And this ducktail, of course, being the key graphic for the send-off of the rear end, and beautiful chamfer going around it, framing the entire rear end graphics right here. As you can see, these taillights look very, very cool. Again, I haven't seen anything similar to this at all from Aston Martin before, and we have a massive diffuser down here maybe not the center diffuser is not that big, but how it goes up here and houses the exhaust pipes. One detail I would like to change here is you see this corner here. Let me remove these lines so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. We have this corner here going from this line into this here. We have a too sharp of a corner for me to be an Aston Martin. That, in my opinion, needs to be a little smoother. So what I would like to do here is just create the smallest little radius here to have more of a fluid integration of these two elements, the center diffuser and the housings for the exhaust pipes. But that's pretty much it for the rear end. Other than that, it looks absolutely insane. And this is definitely a car that I cannot wait to see in real life just how it looks. Look at the muscle here again. Classic, almost 60s styling from Aston Martin. 60s Italian styling for the new Vanquish, looking absolutely stunning. Quad exhaust pipes from the big V12 in 2025 is just insane. That they actually developed a brand new V12. I'm so happy to hear that. Now, looking at the interior here, and if there's one thing that I was not a huge fan of when it comes to the previous, for example, the Vantage interiors, and the DBS as well, it was just too messy. There was too many things going on. It looked like an alien spaceship in there. It wasn't clean enough. It didn't have any connection to the classic styling that we have in the exterior. But now this looks 100 times better than the previous design language of Aston Martin's interiors. We have a big screen here, which is totally fine. I don't mind having screens like this. You can see that it doesn't stick up at all into the dash, so it sits flush within the rest of the dashboard here, looking great. We have a couple of buttons down here for the climate control settings, fantastic, and a bunch. This is beautiful. This is the craftsmanship that I want to see, specifically for paying. If I'm going to pay 400,000 plus for a car, I don't want to have everything be pixelated and digitalized. This is what I want to see. Small details, different type of materials, different textures. You can smell. It smells differently. It feels differently when you rub your finger over it. And you also have a new steering wheel here. The steering wheel looks fantastic. A lot of carbon fiber in here. And it looks like we do have a housing for the gauge cluster up here with some carbon fiber exoskeleton pieces going here on the sides. More carbon fiber in the door. Is just a very, very clean interior with a lot of horizontal lines. And they cleaned the interiors up a lot from the, as I said, from the previous generations Aston Martin. So overall, this is just an absolutely stunning design. And not just that, but when it comes to technology and classic feel and vibe of GT cars, this just brings that back into life with the new Vanquish for 2025. With, as I said in the beginning, all these tech features that we usually see on new cars today are not present in this car. In addition to the big V12, the rear-wheel drive, and a classic layout both for the exterior and the interior. So overall, a fantastic job by Aston Martin with the new Vanquish.